In this video, we'll look at how to add and edit course items, as well as change due dates for assignments. So let's start by looking at how to add course items. I have a sample course pulled open here, and at the bottom and top of the course items section, you should see a couple drop downs that say add an item. So from there, you've got a list of different types of items that you can add to your course page. I won't cover all of these, but the first two, assessment and inline text, are some of the more commonly used ones. So you would do add an assessment if you wanted to add some kind of assignment to your course, or you would do add inline text if you want to add some text to your course page. So for example, this, what I have shown right here, this piece of text, that's an inline text item. So let's go ahead and create an inline text item. So if you select add inline text, it should pull open a new page, and you can give a title to your text. So we'll just do sample text. And then you've got an input box here where you can type in the text that you want to add. So you can go ahead and type in some text. You have some formatting options up here. You can paste in an image. You can add headers, things like that. You've got a whole lot of options through this visual interface. And then at the bottom, you've got some options like attaching a file. So if you want to attach some kind of file like a PDF, you can add that there. And then you can change the due dates of when this is shown. If you want it to always show, just select this show always option. And then after selecting that, you can just press create item, and it'll just create that item right where you placed it. So it just throws it at the top by default if you selected the drop down at the top. Now, if you want to edit this text, you can click on that gear icon and have this drop down, and then just press the modify link, and it'll pull open that previous page where you can go in and edit anything relative to this inline text. So if you need to edit that, you can just press the modify link and it'll pull that page back open for you. Now I've got a couple assignments in this course already. And so I'm just going to open one of those up, open up some of the settings for those. And so here I have a homework assignment. And from the gear icon, there's a link that says settings. And so there's a whole lot of settings for assessments. And when you press that settings link, it's going to pull open a page that has a lot of content on it. And I'm going to cover these options in another video. But for now, we're just going to look at a couple important first things. One of them being the assessment name. You can rename the assessment. And an important one is there's a whole section for due dates. And so you can hide an assessment if you want to hide something. Click that hide. If you want it to be visible, you would do show by dates. Now there's three options for visibility. One of them is available after, so that you would select a date at which point the assessment is shown. So if you want to keep it hidden until a certain date, you would select this checkbox here, and then select the date and the time, and then move on. If you want it to always be visible up until the due date, just select always until end date. And then we have available until, which is really like the due date. If you want it to always be open, select that first option. If you want to have an actual due date, you would select that second option and then select the date in time. And notice that there's these little calendar icons next to the date input. And those are little date pickers where you can go in and actually pick your date from a visual thing. So you can select dates from that calendar. And then there's a third option that's keep open as review, which would mean that students could access the assignment after it has closed. So like after the due date has passed, the students can open it back up and attempt problems and see their responses. They don't get credit for it after the due date, but they can at least open it as a review assignment. If you don't want students to be able to do that, press never. And then you have the other two options. So you can set it until a specific date or just always after it is closed. And once you've done that, you can press save changes, and that'll save your due date changes. So I'll go ahead and press that. So you can manually change due dates for all of your assessments in that way, although it might be kind of a lot of work if you have a lot of assessments in your course. To do that manually for each assignment can be kind of tedious and take some time. So if you look over to the left in that sidebar, you'll see that there's a section for mass change where you can change the settings for a lot of assignments at once. And one of those is titled dates. So if you select that dates link, it'll pull open a page that has some information on it you should read. And then you've got a table that has all of your assessments and all of your items within it. And then it's got a few columns, like a show column, so you can choose either by dates or hidden. You've got a start date column, and you've got an end date column, and you've got a review date column. So these are just the options that we just previously looked at. However, you can change these settings for multiple assignments at once. So if you wanted to change the settings, the due date for both of these expressions assignments maybe, then you can make the changes here. So maybe we want them both to be due on the 18th of May. You'd select both of those, change whatever other options you want, and make sure to select these checkboxes in the leftmost column. It's very important that you do that. If you don't select those, it's not going to save the changes to those things. So this is how you indicate which ones you want to change. And then once you've done that, you can press Save Changes. That'll save all of those changes for all of the assessments that you selected. So we should check to make sure that this worked. Notice that there's a calendar link at the very top of your page. And if you select on the calendar link, it's going to show you a calendar view of your due dates. And we just selected the 18th of May for these expression lessons, and they show up there. So it seemed like the mass change worked. So the mass change is a good way to quickly move things around. However, from this calendar view, you can also quickly change due dates. So there's some options in this calendar, and I'll cover the calendar in more detail in another video. One of these options is Enable Drag and Drop Editing. And if you select on that, then you can just click and drag assessments around, and it'll change their due dates accordingly. So it's not going to change, all this is doing is changing the end date, and it doesn't change the end time or the open time or anything like that. It just changes the date at which the assignment closes. So maybe you want to bump something back a week. You can just drag it down 1 week in the calendar, and then it makes those changes and saves it automatically. And then you can press Disable Drag and Drop Editing when you're done with that.